Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest this afternoon is Russ Dugger, whose upcoming comic Ninja Penguin caught my attention from probably 20 feet away at insert name Zine Fest, what, a month ago, roughly, a few weeks ago, something like that, whenever it was. Regular listeners of the show know when it was because we're sponsors, and we've been plugging the hell out of it going up to it, and I talked about it after I came back, but I feel like the world has aged 70 years since then, so like time no longer has any meaning. Um, yeah, so actually, to be totally fair, I somehow missed it while I was buying stickers from you, and then saw it from 20 feet away and came back.
Excellent. The display
So
worked.
yeah. Well, and I love the mini comic. Like, and that's where first give us like the front counter pitch for Ninja Penguin, but then I want to talk to you about what I think is one of the cooler marketing things I've ever seen done on an upcoming comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So pitch us Ninja Penguin. Tell us how it's working. If it's crowdfunding, definitely let us know. We'll plug the hell out of it. If it's not crowdfunding, let us know where we can buy it. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Sure thing. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It was a real surprise and a true pleasure to have this opportunity. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
I like
Um,
talking comics.
I love it. It makes the world a more beautiful place, I think.
I think so.
But yeah, Ninja Penguin. It's kind of an all ages comic about a lonely penguin in the Antarctic who gains superpowers from a meteor from space. Where else do meteors come from?
I mean, they
And
could come from the ocean. It'd just be weird, and we might call
it
them
would be
something else.
a seedier. Um, but yeah, he gains these powers and kind of struggles against a villain, a lost duck that finds its way in Antarctica. So, very silly premise. Very kind of. I was describing it to some people yesterday. I was at uh, blanking on it all of a sudden. Eau Claire Comic Con.
Okay.
Chatting with some folks, and I realized I've kind of been explaining it as very like early 2000s Nickelodeon is kind of the vibe
Okay.
that I went for. But yes, silly penguin gaining superpowers and some alien friends from a meteor in outer space.
That that is a succinct plug, and I'll just say that like just the 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 ninja kicking penguin is all it took to sell me. Yeah, big eyes and feet flying through the air. You know that works. Maybe I'll manage to get a picture somewhere in our notes or whatnot. But otherwise, people just Google Ninja Penguin. Hopefully, it will come up. I'm going to do that right now to see if you're the first thing that comes up with Ninja Penguin, or whether we're going to wind up with a different Ninja Penguin. In which case, you gotta make certain that
There's
there is a
yeah,
different Ninja Penguin. There's a surprising number of Ninja Penguins that
I
are
know.
showing up.
I will say I think that there is just a weird confluence between I think one penguins I think are universally adored. A lot of people love penguins. They were like huge in I wish I knew the exact dates, but like there was a time in a space of time where like penguins were just
Well,
it.
probably
They
right
were
right around
everywhere.
March of the Penguins.
March of the Penguins, Happy
And,
Feet,
well, yeah,
Club Penguin, that online
yeah.
thing, which I think there was actually like a one of their mascots was like a ninja. Um, So yeah,
Well, this is
I
where I'm
feel like
also
it's a
going to say that I do like, as I look at all of these other Ninja Penguins, I do like your decision to go blue.
yeah,
The
yeah.
the the black Ninja Penguins aren't as funny.
It was it was a lot of trial and error with some color palettes, and I really liked the blue. It
Yeah,
made it,
yeah, yeah.
especially compared to the villain of the story,
Which is more
with a
greenish.
yeah, which I mean,
Gr
comics
green
history,
duck,
that's
blue. Yeah, yeah, no, no, it works. And
yeah.
unfortunately, we can't Google Ninja Penguin and get the right one yet. But we'll have to
Yet we'll
work
get
on that.
there.
We'll work
Yeah.
on that. Um, in fact, right now, t tell us where we might find it now or in the future.
Certainly. So I do have an Instagram. It's at Doodlehoff. Doodle as you'd expect it with HOFF at the end. Um, I've been posting stuff there. Hopefully in the future I'll get a website put together. I don't even have that yet. Where maybe I'll be a bit better about sharing my things. I'm not the best when it comes to social media and
I
sharing things.
totally
So
understand. We now have an Instagram presence because my wife started doing it for us.
hmm it
I mean,
I feel
that's
like it
that's
takes
that's
yeah.
really what it came down to. We have a much more significant Instagram presence than we did like 3 weeks ago because my wife has started doing it for us.
Excellent.
That's
No,
that's the
it's
that's the
unfortunately
entire difference.
yeah.
The entire difference is. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, for making it so that like probably even when this episode goes up, there will be a picture of the appropriate Ninja Penguin with it because she does things like that. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, yeah. Um, so this is where I gotta like ask the question just because like as I read this, um, and I know plenty of people who like write great kids books who don't have kids or whatnot, but it just read like the book that came about as the like sitting next to the kid. No, Dad, you tell the story tonight. Where it's simplistic, but it's got enough detail and enough, to move it along, and it's not dumb, but it's not hard. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I appreciate that. I will say no, I don't have kids. But I will say the original idea for Ninja Penguin came about when I was in eighth grade.
Okay.
And I uh I honestly can't even remember like where the character was born from. Maybe it was like chatting with some friends, but I did make a series of like 2-page comic books
Okay.
of Ninja Penguin. And
Gotcha.
I'd found them recently and was like, I've always kind of wanted to make an actual comic book, and I kept trying ideas that didn't like move me or didn't excite me. And I found that and I went, yeah, this moves and excites me.
So
This
I'm
feels
I'm
like
I'm going to make a comment, and then that'll take us
hmm
perfectly into your preview. But like you're behind the eight ball. The first appearance of the Bone Cousins, Jeff Smith put in a mini comic he made when he was like 8. You were in eighth grade. That's like
yep.
5 years later, man. You got to pick up your game.
I gotta. I've always been a late bloomer. What can I say?
But when you brought up the 2 page, what I love about how I discovered Ninja Penguin, and this is like a brilliant marketing tool. It would be even better if you had, well, you do have the follow on Instagram, so you maybe just didn't know when you were writing the back of it and might not know
hmm
yet, but you have the first 6 pages here, and they're in black and white to make, but they're it's the 1 page folded and cut 8 page
hmm
comic with a cover and a way to to follow you and your upcoming appearance at FallCon, and then just so that like we still get the color experience, you were kind enough to tape a a sticker to the front. So like free sticker, free comic,
Hmm.
just enough to really hook people. If anything, we learn more about the duck than the penguin, which in some ways
Yes.
is perfect because like you get your introduction to the penguin just in time to go, I gotta go find out more about this. Um, and again, it's something that like you can walk away from in the form that those of us who are comics geeks will recognize from Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics when he says, you know, anybody can make a comic. All you need is one sheet of paper.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
um, so I mean, is that a marketing strategy you've used before, or did it pop into your head for insert
No.
zine or insert name? I mean, like where'd that come from?
Yeah. So it really did kind of come a little bit from like being under the gun. I knew that I was set up for Insert Name Zine Fest. I would have loved to have had the comic like ready in time for that. Um, but there, I was still putting some like final touches on it to ship it out because I got it printed through Comics Wellspring. So I was, just kind of putting those finishing touches before I put it out to print. And I was like, I really like I have stuff here. I'd love to be able to share at least a little bit, get, some people excited about this idea because I feel like the people that are going to be at Insert Name Zine Fest are also a lot of the people that will, that would at least stop by Fall Con or, some of the bigger cons um, around
Right.
here. So I just thought, you know what, I can take the first 6 pages. I think especially with page 6 landing on kind of a nice little uh uh you know cliffhanger, uh like something's going to happen. It's kind of setting it up for the main event or the like a major reveal. But also it has enough, kind of goofs and gags and funny characters to hold its own at least a little bit. And it was quick and easy, keep it black and white for simplicity's sake, for cost. And then, yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I printed out a bunch of color stickers that I was planning on giving, having as, promotional giveaway for free. That's what I did at Eau Claire yesterday. But tacking it to the front so you get a little bit idea of what the color of this penguin is, some more
Well, and
style
you
connection
use
to it. But
the same actual image for the front
yes,
cover of the mini zine. So like, yeah, no, it was I was impressed. Like
I appreciate that.
I've seen lots of different cool things done to promote comics. So it's like anytime I see something that I hadn't quite seen that before, I like go, ooh. Um, so yeah. It just, and of course, I'm saying this as I also fall down the comics wellspring um,
Yes, excellent.
rabbit hole. So I'll stop with that and look at that more later. This is my audience knows that I'm autistic and find rabbit holes fascinating, but I should warn you, you say certain things that like trigger me,
Mm.
and you might have to start filling some dead air because I'm going.
All right, noted, noted. I'm ready.
So this is a good point, and this is one of the questions I forget to ask sometimes with some of our more experienced creators. I'm not trying to denigrate your experience. You've
No, not
clearly
at
been
all.
making comics on some level since you were in eighth grade, but like when you can dive into huge amounts of published work, I sometimes forget to ask one of my favorite questions, which is give me your comics history. And I don't mean your bibliography. I mean, your
Hmm.
biography. Start with like the comics that you first remember reading, like the comics that you first remember buying for yourself, comics that changed the way you looked at comics, comics that made you decide that maybe you could make or wanted to make comics and or decided that you could make comics because sometimes those are different books, you know.
Yeah, certainly. Um, I don't remember. So I have like a core memory of having some maybe mid 90s. I have some memory of getting some comic books at like a yard sale or something like that. But honestly, the earliest thing that I remember reading was my grandparents would send me this harem romance comic that I really loved. It's called Archie. Maybe you've heard of it.
I have.
Yeah.
You know, um, I mean, funny aside here, the first time Tom King's kids gave a damn that he wrote comics was when he did an Archie issue.
Oh, wild. Yeah. No, my grandparents would send me Archie Digest. And
Okay.
I loved those. Um, of course,
It took me too
news.
long to get into them, but I have been won over and I've been
Yeah,
trying to
they're
fit more of
silly.
them into my reading time.
And their history is really fascinating, not to set you up for another rabbit hole, but
I'm all
I
for
wish
it.
I
I
could
like
remember.
rabbit holes.
Yeah, but I wish I could remember like specifics, but there's so much about like the publishers and everything they went through and who owned Archie Comics and like where their attentions went. It's actually like a really kind of fascinating uh
I have now pulled
history
up
just
the
in and of
Archie
itself, but
Comics Wikipedia article just to
yep,
start with
yep.
later.
Um, but yeah, those for sure. Loved reading those. Newspaper comics, the weekly Sunday funnies. Um, always
Did you have
had
favorite
to.
newspaper strips?
Oh man. Um,
I mean, you're
I mean,
saying
I
that
definitely went through like my Garfield phase.
okay.
I loved Zits when I was
I
growing
love
up.
Zits too.
I thought that was a great one. Um, man. I really kind of I really didn't discriminate. I read each and every comic that was on there
Oh, I did
because,
too. I did too,
um
but I still had my favorites.
yeah, for
That's the
sure.
only reason I
Beetle
asked.
Bailey. Beetle
Okay.
Bailey
There's a cool
absolutely.
collection of that coming out
Yeah.
really soon and
Oh,
or just
really?
came out. Yeah, give me a second.
I'll keep an eye out.
I feel like Fanographics. I also think that I think it's New York Review of Books is reprinting Mort Walker did like keep telling the story. I'll
Oh,
look
yeah.
up the stuff and
No,
then
for sure.
we'll tell it tell it properly.
Yeah. No, the Beetle Bailey was kind of interesting because both my parents were Army. And so I think that I just kind of that one just kind of attracted me to it simply being based on a bunch of people in the army. Maybe saw some humor in or maybe understood my parents a little bit better, seeing like a drill sergeant and the comedy there. But trying to think of what else. I mean, like I had that stuff growing up, but it wasn't until maybe mid high school that I really, of course, that was around the era that manga started to become way more prevalent, way more available. Got into reading manga, uh, and then I kind of fell off. Well, no, I'll take that back. It transitioned to web comics. Like I really,
Okay.
fell hard for web comics. So, it was I had my favorites folder, and every morning, I would wake up and I'd open up, was it Salmon Fuzzy was one that I remember. Least I Could Do was one that I remember reading. Of course, I think the uh, oh, why am I blanking on the name now? Anyway, I couldn't start my morning without reading through all of the updated web comics, and then start
Okay.
my college courses. Um,
Gotcha.
and then when I joined the workforce, it was the DC's New 52 that kind of brought me back into comic books, especially, um, you know, uh, uh, Batman with, oh, why am I blanking on his name now? Of
Scott
course,
Snyder's
Scott Snyder.
or
Yep,
Grant
Scott Snyder's
Morrison was still
Batman.
doing Batman going into that.
Yeah, so Scott Snyder's was the first time that I like started with number one and was like
Okay.
reading through the issues and keeping up and like buying the
So the Court of
singles and
Owls and then the
yep.
yeah.
Um, and so I that was one of the big ones. I also enjoyed The Flash during that time. Um,
He's doing the
and then
Flash during the
yeah.
trying to remember who was doing the
With
Flash during the
that
New
was
52.
I'm terrible with names is the unfortunate
Now
thing.
I'm pulling it up
But
right now though. It
yeah, that was the
was
Godspeed.
uh Francis Manipool, Brian Bucoletto, Robert Venditti, Van
Gotcha.
Jensen, and
Yeah.
Brett Booth.
So yeah, New
So
52 kind
yeah.
of brought me back into weekly, monthly comics, and from there I
Okay.
just kind of kept up regularly, specifically with DC. I I like the Marvel world. I just for some reason I gravitate towards DC more and
You're a
more.
DC guy.
I'm a DC
I
guy,
I know that
although
I'm an anomaly because I like both worlds and I'm more picky about who's writing it than like what
yeah.
the characters are. Almost everybody tends to gravitate one way or the other.
Oh, for
So
sure. Well,
yeah.
and I'm also one of those people where maybe it's a fear of commitment, but I well I love like the short run issues.
Yeah.
Anything that where
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can
I particularly with my superhero stuff, I tend to be more of a miniseries guy. So here is the Beetle
yeah.
Bailey book that I was
Oh,
talking
that's
about.
so cool.
75 Years of Smiles.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
it's a coffee table career retrospective of Beetle Bailey by Mort Walker, and it comes out on Tuesday. So
Interesting. All right.
Tuesday from Fantagraphics is Mort Walker's Beetle Bailey. And then this is the other one I was talking about, the Lexicon of Kamikana by Mort Walker,
Okay.
with a foreword by Chris Ware, um, where like he broke down
Oh
all of the
wow.
parts of like how comics are made,
Yeah, I love
etc.
that
Sweat
stuff.
drops, the right. So that is coming from New York Review Comics. It might be out now because I can add it
Okay.
to my cart already. So it might not be coming. It might be the one that's already out. So yeah. You said Beetle Bailey, and those immediately popped in my head because remember, autistic brain. I make
Yep.
um
Nope, I get you.
and definitely the Lexicon of Kamikana is on my list of things that I like want.
Yeah.
Beetle Bailey, I go back and forth on, but enough people love Mort Walker that like getting that one book that I really like dive in. And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
actually really love it when they put out like a best of a comic strip rather
Right.
than just the year by year collections. Don't get me wrong, I love like the Peanuts year by year collections. I have my
Mm-hmm.
complete Calvin
Mm-hmm.
and Hobbes. If I fell in love with Beetle Bailey, I might still want the year by year collections as well. But like having that
Right.
one book to explore and then to I've got like three or four Peanuts collections that are the perfect way to
Mm-hmm.
say, you haven't figured out the magic of Peanuts yet? Here, read this.
Yes. Yeah.
you know
Just the hits.
um
Just the hits.
well, and generally laid out in such a way that it's not just the hits, but like it's a
Right.
good exploration of what the comics meant,
Yeah.
what the comics encompassed. Um, like one of my favorite Nancy books is the one, and he did it over single issues at Kitchen Sink, but then they got collected at New York Review of Books recently. But Dennis Kitchen
Right.
collected Nancy strips by like theme. So that he put out like an issue on food, an issue on,
Yes.
and
Gotcha.
then those are what were collected in. So you got to have this collection of Nancy through the years, and Nancy took on a couple of different forms through the years. I mean, we know the three panel Nancy the
Mm-hmm.
best because that's the one that the sing God, and this is how cool comics is. Like Paul. There are too many Pauls. Why can't I remember? I've had him on the show too. Um, how to read Nancy. Paul Karasik and Mark Newgarden wrote an entire 300-page scholarly book on how to read one Nancy strip. The
That's my
August
nerd.
8th,
I love it.
1959 Nancy strip. If you haven't read it, you should. How to Read
All
Nancy
right.
is like, uh, uh, I mean, I'm quite serious. Like, to me, like your 100 level comics reading is McLeod's
Yep.
Understanding Comics. Your 200 level comics reading is the actual textbook from Jessica Abel and Matt Madden. Uh, uh, Drawing words and writing pictures, right?
Right.
Which is like literally the textbook to their comics class. To the 300 level is when you start splitting off into little things like how to read Nancy, or
Yeah.
I feel like the Mort Walker will probably be a 300 level. And then to me, the 400 level is Nick Susanis's Unflattening, which is actually in
Okay.
many ways an allegory for teaching, but really is like how pictures work, how comics work, how the mind works, how thinking works, all rolled into one. It was his doctoral thesis at Columbia. It was printed by Harvard University Press, and it's just wonderful.
Right. It's called the unflattening.
It's called Unflattening. And for that
Unflattening.
matter, let me drop his website into the notes here, and I'll plug it
Perfect.
again on the air. And one of these days, Nick and I'll actually have our schedule. Uh, Nick was one of the first people I reached out to, and he still hasn't been on the show because we just haven't managed to make it work.
Nick.
But he
Nick.
teaches and he makes
Do it. It's
comics
so
and he's
much
got a
fun. This is a
kid.
blast.
Right. Um, we
Priorities,
we've
Nick.
we no we've had a very at times prolific and always healthy back and forth on via email. We just haven't managed to.
Yeah.
I managed to stick my head in on one of his symposiums.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of met him, so that was cool.
Nice.
There we go. But no, here is his website. His website is spinweavingcut.com, where he puts up his the syllabi for his most recent comics class is done as a mini comic. So that's what's on top of the website right now. He's had a couple of great political one pagers recently
Oh,
that are
excellent.
also
Yeah,
up
I'm
there.
looking at it now.
Yeah, he's got like massive lists of other websites or educational papers written on comics. Yeah, this is one of my favorite comic resources on the web is is Nick Susanis's spin, weave, and cut. But it is definitely for a particular type of comics fan that
Likes to get deep.
likes to get seriously nerdy. That like you say the words, they wrote a 300-page scholarly book about one Nancy strip, and the eyes go big rather than why would anybody do that?
Oh, excellent.
Um,
No, that's
so
cool.
yeah,
I've got
yeah.
that saved to check out.
And like, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is I've definitely started to deconstruct what I like
Hmm.
about comics more, why they've always been my favorite medium,
Yeah.
why more and more I view them as the perfect medium. Um,
I
I
I'm in that same boat. Um,
I mean, it might I used to describe Chicago's called the second city.
hmm
And I used to say, but that doesn't tell the whole story because it's like the second city in population and it's the second city in theater and it's the second city in like sports atmosphere and it's the
hmm
second city in music scene and it's the second city for parks and it's the second city for museums and none of the first cities are the same city.
That's
You
true.
know,
That's
Washington,
true.
D.C. has better museums. You probably
Hmm.
have a better theater scene, maybe a better sports scene in New York. But with their football teams in New Jersey now, do you really? You probably have a better music scene. I don't know if you have a better music scene in Seattle anymore, maybe LA. There's almost always at least one town, and sometimes as
I
many as three, that I would say have a
yeah.
better music scene than Chicago. But those towns change
Hmm.
because they're almost always whatever music scene
Yeah. It's
is
based
the
on
new
the
scene.
yeah.
Whereas Chicago's
It's
got
like a
jazz,
school.
Chicago's got blues, Chicago's got folk,
Hmm.
Chicago's got country, Chicago's got classic rock, Chicago's got a fantastic symphony, fantastic opera house, you know, um,
Yeah.
which is why like, and I still haven't visited them all, but like even, I like New York way more than I wanted to. Because I hate the Mets. I hate the Yankees. Actually, I'm starting to like the Mets, which is really weird for me, and I apologize to Ron Santo on a daily basis. I have been I have been assured by one of my friends who's an older Cubs fan that it's now been long enough that Ronnie will forgive me rather than rolling over in his grave. Um, but like, love San Francisco, love Seattle, love Boston,
Hmm.
and I really love that the city that I live within driving distance of is Chicago because there's nothing that I can want to do that isn't there, ex except maybe
I haven't been
surfing, but
yet,
I
so
don't really want to surf. I mean, I kind of want to surf some days. I bet you actually Lake Michigan might be more my speed of surfing if I could manage to get the board to float.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
So
No,
you never been to
someday I'd
Chicago?
like to get to Chicago. I've never been. Never been.
No. Where are you? I mean, I
Minneapolis.
assumed you were Midwest. Okay.
Yep, yep.
So you're in Minneapolis and haven't made it to Chicago. We're
Yeah.
like the next closest city, dude.
I know. I
I
Here's the
mean,
thing. I've
Milwaukee's like maybe a smidgen closer.
yeah, never been there either.
Oh, wow. Well, we got
No,
to give
I
you excuses, particularly because both Chicago's got a couple of good small press slash
yeah.
independent cons, and Milwaukee has a good one. Um,
Well, I will say I didn't start doing cons or any sort of selling until like middle of last year.
okay, so
Not
it's a new thing.
Yeah, yeah. My first one was actually 2024's Insert Name Zine Fest. That was my first
Ah,
ever time
okay.
like
So
printing out
it
my
was
stuff
it
and
would so I would have met you last year if I hadn't gotten sick, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. But I didn't have anything like Ninja Penguin. It was all still like
Right.
very small folded
Well, I mean,
zines and
I
and
very much
prints and
I very much enjoyed Gracie too.
Oh yeah. I'm
Uh,
so happy. People like picking that one up. She's a my
Gra-
dog Gracie.
I had a male cat named Gracie,
Oh yeah.
and Gracie also reminds me of my dog Potato, who was here a few minutes ago, but has apparently decided to either climb under the bed or go see mom. Um, particularly, particularly, the you have two choices: either give me a chip or we have a problem. Um, see, my dog's full name
Hmm.
is Barbecue Baked Potato Chip Zdarsky.
Beautiful. Rolls
Uh,
off the tongue.
well, it does. It does. Well, because my wife has as long as she's named her own pets, it's an artist and a food. So we got Potato not long after the passing of Salvador Bologna, which was the dog that she had when we met,
Ah,
whose favorite food was barbecue baked potato chips. I mean, man, did you? I mean, like, man, did you have a like it got to the point where it was like one for you, two for him, if it was the barbecue baked potato chips.
oh, that's so funny.
Um, and when we met this dog at an event, a shelter event,
Hmm.
his name was Chip, which my wife didn't love, but I said, but Salvador's favorite food was barbecue baked potato chips.
Hmm.
And, I love the comic book artist Chip Zdarsky. So, we can throw them all together. So we did, but we call him Potato.
Potato. What? That's I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Gracie came with her name. We had some names that we were going to, go with. I think like at one point we were going to go with like Harley.
Right.
Um, but we went to the rescue and I sat down and I made the mistake of saying, "Come here, Gracie." And she came and she sat in my lap and I'm like, "Well, I've said it. It felt right." She
Yep.
like it. I'm like, "Yep,
Right.
you're Gracie. You're Gracie. You're my Gracie Goo now." So,
Yep. Yep. But yeah, no, my Gracie was actually named for Mark Grace, the
okay.
longtime Cubs first baseman.
Love that.
Yeah. So, but but yeah, so I really appreciated your dog comic too.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
And I love this is something that I can't emphasize enough, and all the more so because I now know that you've only been at this even semi-professionally for like a little more than a year now.
Yeah.
Um, if you can put together the one-page comic that you can run off on your printer at home, cut them up, fold them and cut them,
Mm-hmm.
you're a pro. Get yourself a table. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things that makes comics the best medium
Mm-hmm.
is that it's got the lowest point of entry,
Testify. You're absolutely
and
right.
it only gets lower.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the lowest point of entry when all you had to do was print off your, or for that matter, even just make your one of a kind, or draw it on a piece of paper and then trace it, or draw it on
Mm-hmm.
a piece of paper and then find a copy machine, or um but now with web comics, all you need is a phone.
All
Hell,
you need is a
I know
phone.
people who draw their comics on the phone. I mean, it's
Yeah.
never the ideal way,
It
but
feels
it's an
like
option.
a true like Sisyphus. I cannot say the word.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
So yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a true like boulder up a hill.
Right.
But so I'm endlessly impressed with people who are
Right.
just like, I'm working with the tools that I got and making it
Uh-huh.
happen. I'm like, yes, yes, absolutely. If I can do
Um,
this at 38 and just
right.
deciding to put it
But
out
but
there,
but
like it's
but
not too
then
late.
but then you add to that like, I mean, we touched on this briefly earlier,
Hmm.
there are mediums that might do certain things. I mean, I guess you could make an argument that movies do action better, Though I think it's only an argument. I think a well-drawn action scene can, because sometimes the beauty of the action in a movie is just it's too fast for you to
Right. Well, it I feel like
enjoy
it
it
comes
all,
down to
and or they slow it down so that you can see everything going on, but then it doesn't feel right, you know.
yeah.
Um,
I I feel like with and this is like a huge pet peeve for me is
right,
like the for me the medium is the message. If you decide to tell a story in a particular medium, then I feel like that story has to be uniquely for that medium. It's why it
right,
always bugs me when you take like animation like Disney's been doing with their remakes. They take an animated story and they move it to live action, but they don't change anything. They try and keep it as,
right,
pitch perfect to what and I sit there and I go, so you didn't adjust anything really for to make the argument of why this is live action. It's
right,
still presented in the way that we would expect it to you want it to be animated. That's how I
right,
saw it, which is not to say like old man on cloud or yells at cloud saying
right.
like it's different
No,
now,
you could
but it's
certainly
it's
do a
not
live
different. It's the
action.
same.
You could certainly do a live action Snow White that would be
Yeah,
completely worth watching,
yeah,
but it's
change it.
not going
Make
to be
make it
like the animated one.
and make
Um,
make an argument for like why it needs to be this way. So,
right.
you know,
Um,
and I feel like with like fight scenes, uh there can be like if it's going to be fast and messy and ugly, like the cinematography has to lean into that. Like
right,
it's fast and ugly because you want the audience to feel like it's
right,
fast and ugly. If it's going to be slow, if it's going to be like, big long shots where you're seeing like all the movement and action, then it's going to be more dance like. It's going to be like music. It's
right.
less about like the feeling of the fight and
But
more of like the spectacle of dance in my
but
in my opinion. But
but where I'm going in terms of the comics being the perfect medium
mhm,
is they could do either one of those in the same amount of space.
right. Yeah.
They could do either one of those and at least as well and maybe better in the same amount of space just by changing how they do it. There's
Yeah,
no medium that does the passage of time better than comics.
I would agree with that.
You just can't.
Yeah.
Um, and part of it is the way that comics are by their very nature interactive with their readers.
Mm,
Their readers essentially have the final cut
yes.
because the readers truly decide the pacing,
Hmm. They
both
could
in
skip
terms of
pages if
how
they
long
wanted.
they spend it. Well, no, but just both in terms of how long they spend with it
Yes.
and in terms of how long it feels in their head,
Hmm.
which don't have to be the same thing.
No.
They can look at a page that they know is happening lightning fast, but because of the way it grips them, spend an hour with it
Hmm.
without losing that sense of it's, whereas in a book, the number of words does a huge amount to affect the
Hmm.
pacing. In a movie, just the speed of the movie does a huge amount to affect the pacing. And it's
Hmm.
very, very hard to express a different pace than you're actually experiencing. So it's very, very hard to have a movie that's moving along at a, at a brisk rate, but feels like it's longer. It's even harder to have a movie that's not moving along at a brisk rate, feel like it's shorter. That one gets pulled off every once in a while. More times than not, when people say, "Oh, that movie didn't feel long," it's not that I'm not aware that it was 3 hours. It's that I didn't get bored for 3 hours.
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Critically engaged the entire time.
right. Um, yeah, that juxtaposition between words, and people will throw things at me. They'll say, "Well, music," and I'm like, "God, dude, go read Dave Chisholm, go read Stephen Frank, you know, music can come oozing out of comics. And they'll say smell, and I'll go read an old Mad magazine. Tell me
Yeah.
you don't smell those mounds of dog turds.
Uh I can't remember a coworker of mine said something that connects so deeply to me, which was something along the lines of uh I have I have strong opinions loosely held, which is to
Yeah.
say like, and I think this is something that speaks to me because I I will get like excited about a topic and I will make like very like uh uh clear cut statements, black and white, like this is right, this is wrong. I'm saying these are my reasonings. And then somebody will come in and be like, well, but you didn't think about it this way. And immediately, like I can have my mind changed like that.
Right.
It's very
Right.
easy to
Right.
convince me of a lot of things because I simply get so excited about the topic and be like,
Yeah,
this is absolutely right.
now I
But
have to work much harder on how I phrase my own thing because I don't really have weak opinions, but I try to think of them as thoughts rather than beliefs because I want them
right.
to be changeable, and they're not unchangeable, but the longer I've had it, the more I've thought about it, the more
Hmm.
it's not even that it needs convincing, it needs evidence.
Absolutely. Yes.
Give
And
me evidence and I will happily change based on, I mean, like I said earlier, I'm autistic. And one of the things that definitely defines my autism is
hmm
a resistance to change. But I'm not unchanged. I have people, but like,
right.
you change all the time. I'm like, well, yeah, but like only kind of. Like, as soon as I go, oh, this is the right way, I change and I change hard until there's something
Right.
else that says, oh, this is the right way.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
But
it's
if
a lot
I've
like
got my right way and you want me to do it your right way, even if I don't think that your right way is wrong, if it's not my right way and you haven't convinced me that it's better than my right way, it's going to be very different for me to do, very,
yes.
very difficult for me to do it differently.
Absolutely. I honestly, my wife calls me out on this all the time as of how stubborn I can be. I never considered myself a stubborn person. I can be extremely stubborn, especially when it comes to
I mean, I
yeah,
think I'm
yeah.
mostly stubborn on things that
But
like are much more about me than anybody
yes.
else, where it
Yes.
shouldn't matter to you that I'm stubborn.
Yes.
Though I also try really hard. I don't like it when people tell me what shouldn't matter to me. So I try really
Mm-hmm.
hard not to
Mm-hmm.
say that this shouldn't matter to you. But
Absolutely.
like, it's like when I solve a problem and then you agree that like the problem that I solved was a
Solved.
problem that needed to be solved, but
Mm.
you've decided that you don't like the way that I solved it. It's like, so now I have to solve the problem and I have to solve the optics. Come
Right.
on. Come
brings me back
on.
to brings me back to struggling in math class where I had to show
I,
my work and be like, "No, I
well,
figured it
see,
out.
I'm
Don't
the
tell me to show the
reverse.
work."
Well, no, I'm not the reverse. I didn't like to show my work, but
Hmm.
I did reach the point where I was convinced, and
Oh yeah, I
I'm
struggled.
seriously no, let me finish. I'm seriously convinced even now, and I teach this way, is the work is the math.
Mm-hmm.
The answer isn't the math. The answer
Right.
doesn't matter. The process is what matters. The
Sure.
process is what you need to learn. So you're not showing your work, you're showing the calculation. And if I
Right.
was actually the one grading it, I'd say, you know what? I don't care if you show the calculation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show me how you would get there. If you don't want to do any of the calculating, fine. Get me to the point where I could pump
Right.
something into a calculator,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be the answer.
Right. Right.
You know, um,
Yeah.
but again, it was a process because, like, particularly when it was easy on, is like I don't need to show you how I get to 17 plus 14. That's just 31. It's not hard.
Hmm.
And for that matter, I was that kid where it's like, I can do 17 times 62 in my head. I'm not gonna do it right now because it would be boring on air. I can't do it that fast. Um, but but as soon as you start using variables, yeah, I can do it in my head, but like what you do to manipulate it is way more what matters than the calculation itself. You
Yeah.
know. Um, so yeah, I was won over on the show your work. And have, as you just saw, worked on how to teach others that because I'm a
Yeah,
special ed teacher,
absolutely.
so that's part of my job. But you'd be amazed at how many kids in special ed, like
Hmm.
doing the calculations is their superpower. They can absolutely look at it and just put an answer down. It's like,
Right,
yeah,
right,
but that's not actually what we're doing here.
right.
The
No, and
purpose of
yeah.
math, I mean, math, and this is the other thing that pushed me over. Math is a language.
Hmm.
Math is communication. So like if you decided to put out a comic called Ninja Penguin and
Hmm.
just put the Ninja Penguin that you have as a sticker here on a piece of paper, and this is my comic because I
Yeah.
thought of Ninja Penguin and I figured everything out and this is where it goes to. Would anybody want to read that?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
when you have 5x plus 12 equals 37 and you just put down, now I actually have to do it in my head, 5,
Five. Okay.
that doesn't mean anything to you. But if you put
Right.
down 5x plus 12 equals 37, subtract 12 from both sides, 5x equals 25, divide by 5, x equals 5. Now it's a story.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now it's
Meanwhile,
repeatable. Now somebody learned something.
meanwhile, I was the kid who struggled so bad with my multiplication tables. My mom had to teach me music to like the one that I really struggled was honestly fours. Like fours was a big one. I had a tough time. My mom would teach me 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40. Now I know my fours. And that was how, honestly, that was how I
I
survived
believe
school,
it.
how
I
I
believe
survived
it.
elementary school. But
Yeah.
that's always been the way my mind works is like put it to
Yeah.
song, put it to like something that
Yeah.
I can just like hold on to for rote memory. Um, because otherwise, yeah,
But
my brain never
but
worked.
that's all the more reason why like we should minimize the parts that you have to have rote memory of.
Agreed. Agreed.
If
Yeah.
your math becomes about showing work, then you only need to have the rote memory for like
Hmm.
your single digit multiplication.
It's different subject, but like it's the same reason why I hated history in high school. Go to college, start taking history courses, and they start telling it like it's a story. And I go, this is the most
The,
intriguing
the,
stuff I've
the,
ever
the,
heard.
the good high schools also do that. But
That's
yeah,
good. That's good.
there are definitely high
Mine
schools
definitely
where it's like,
didn't.
remember what year this happened, and it's like, who it's
But
somewhat
why?
important.
Why does it matter?
It's somewhat important to kind of know the order of events. Like you should
Right.
know that Columbus and Vespucci got to America before the Civil War. It
Right.
wouldn't make a
But
lot
like
of
what
sense if they were the other way around.
exactly?
But
But the story there.
1492 doesn't matter that much.
Right.
Like if you know it's the turn of the 16th century, that's enough.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you are studying just the 1490s.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because that's
Connect
actually
it to
one
the
of the things that
story.
blows my mind is like how often we don't know like cross history type stuff. The number of
Hmm.
times people are blown away that Beethoven was writing music during the Revolutionary War.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all interconnected, but we gotta focus in on, or it,
And it's good to
there's only
focus
so
in on this
much.
stuff too, but in terms of, way more important than remembering a year would
Yeah,
be putting it in a world perspective.
putting it into context.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Context is way more important than like, and I don't want to say that like knowing facts is bad, but facts can be looked up easily.
Yeah, we have little computers that can do it for us every day.
And that's the other thing that education should be about, is keeping up with. It made way more sense to have to memorize things when you would have to get up and go to the library to relearn them.
Hmm.
Now, the ability to differentiate fact from fiction on that little device in your hand is way more important than the ability
Yes.
to remember.
Yep.
But teachers are human too. Humans, when they've spent a lot of time becoming experts in things, don't always like to change, and that's
And
understandable if sometimes frustrating.
we also just
And I say
have,
this as a
you know,
teacher. I'm like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm the teacher that wants to constantly be changing, and God, do I sometimes piss off some of my coworkers.
Well, and that's the issue. Then you have to, it's not just that teachers don't want to, make changes or adjustments, but then you have the education system that will fight
Right.
them every step of the way and say, no, do it this way. And you're like, well, I guess I got to do it this way.
And even, like, even if you're not lucky to be in a district that doesn't have it, political winds can change, parental
Hmm.
winds can change,
Absolutely.
you know, what is expected one day can be taboo a year later,
Absolutely. Precisely.
and expected again 2 years after that,
Hmm.
you know. Which is why I love my teachers. I was blessed enough that I had a letter published in the most recent issue of Kelly Sue DeConnick's FML.
Oh,
And
cool.
the part that actually struck me the most wasn't like her strict response to me. I loved her strict response to me, particularly because it was clear that it was actually responding to a few emails that I've sent her over a longer period of time than just the letter that was about FML. Um, but she called out librarians, teachers, and journalists as her heroes. Um, exactly.
Yep. Snaps and claps. Love it.
Because those, I mean, there are other jobs like if it was gonna throw in all the jobs that are both absolutely vital to our existence and completely underappreciated, you definitely have nurses and nursing assistants and frankly anybody working food service at any level, anybody working retail at any level,
Yep. Yep.
um but in terms of, I mean, why those three jobs jump out to me is because they're not only underappreciated and incredibly valuable, but the reason they're valuable is that hopefully they're helping inform you and shape the way you look at the world to better appreciate all of those other undervalued people. But that's also why they're three of the first sets of people that come under attack when people don't want people to notice that, oh, the values you have and the things we're getting you to do aren't actually compatible.
Yeah. Yeah. They are so intrinsically connected to growth as human beings that, yeah, if you don't
Well,
want people to
frankly,
grow,
also productive growth. But I mean,
yeah.
the dirty little secret is that like there are two types of economic growth. There's economic growth that's about making the rich even more powerful, and there's
Mhm.
economic growth that's about everybody doing better.
Yes.
And there are certain numbers that look the same for either one of them. Your GDP can go up and it can mean everybody's doing better. That's what
Hmm.
happened during the 50s, 60s, and early 70s in
Mm.
this country. Or your GDP can go up and it can mean that the average person is doing at best the same and possibly worse, and that the really rich people are exponentially richer. That's what
Yep.
it's meant for the last 40 years. This is also why it's really important to have real numeracy. This is where we go back to doing the work.
Hmm.
If you don't
All comes back
understand how
around.
you don't understand how the math works, you say, oh, but our
Yes.
GDP's up. And it's like, yeah, but if disparity is different than GDP up,
Yeah. You
doesn't
got to be
mean that
inquisitive.
your
You got
life
to,
is improved. Right.
ask the
Right.
questions.
Um, I am starting to hit my wall because this is my third podcast today
Very
and
fair.
my sixth in 2 days. So I am gonna say first, where are you headed next in terms of the con schedule?
Sure. Yeah. The only thing that I have currently lined up is FalCon. That's October 11th and 12th, I believe, at the State Fairgrounds in their underneath their Coliseum. I'll
State
be there both.
fairgrounds in which state? Because you know we
Oh,
do we
Miss
do go
Fair,
out to the
fair.
entire world.
That's very fair. When I say State Fair, I obviously mean the Minnesota State Fair, the greatest state fair in.
I mostly assumed so,
No, that's
but you said you were in Eau Claire, Wisconsin recently, so
yes.
you
If you
know
if you have
even
any
state
Texans,
fair could mean
if you have any Texan listeners, I probably ticked off a few of them. But
right.
yeah,
Well,
no, at
I
the at
mean,
the
like, yeah, no, we have been listened to on every continent except
yes.
Antarctica. We have had guests from every continent except Antarctica and Africa.
Well, hopefully the penguins in Antarctica will start listening after this one.
I mean, I would love it. I would love it. For that matter, you know, there are times where I think, I wonder if I like sent out cold emails to various research scientists in Antarctica, whether any of them would come and talk about Greg Rucka's whiteout with me.
Ah,
We just do a whiteout
shoot the
book
shot.
club.
Shoot the
Well, I
shot.
mean, I have an Australian correspondent that came out of, she wrote a letter to Love and Rockets, God, 30 years ago, and I used it to track her down. And first she was a guest, and now
Wow.
she's part of the Love and Rockets book club.
I love that.
And
That's
that's why
awesome.
that's why we have a regular from Australia. So, I mean, if I found the right person, I could find the regular comics correspondents coming from Antarctica. You're giving me ideas and rabbit holes to go down.
Chase them all.
I try to. Uh, I don't always manage to because eventually I get exhausted.
We only have so much energy.
So
But
much energy, so many hours in a day.
yeah.
I like let me be God for a day, and the first thing I would do is I would change it so that we had 9-day weeks with 36-hour days, but we still only needed 8 hours of sleep per day and still only worked 5 hours a week or five
Or five
days
days
a
a week.
week for
Yeah.
8 hours a day. You know, 40 hours a
Yep.
week would still pay for our standard of living. And
Right.
if I was really being a benevolent God, I would make certain to up the minimum wage a little bit too.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a
While you're at
government
it.
thing. That's kind of a government thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, the God thing is I'd make it so that we didn't need more calories.
Yeah.
You know, the various things that like God. creationally could change to make it so that
Yeah,
you didn't necessarily need.
you got this thought out. You got it
I
thought out.
do. Like I said, autism brain. I don't have half thoughts. I don't have half thoughts, Russ. If I
Right.
think at all, I start working the
Whole
details.
thoughts.
Like just saying that we have 36-hour days. Well, yeah, but if you don't like account for the fact that somehow you could still only work for 8 of them and only needed to sleep for 8 of them, then it doesn't
Yep.
help you.
Doesn't matter.
So, okay, final question. My favorite
Yes.
final question, so much so that I ask it to you as your final question every time you're a guest, not just the first time you are.
All
Um,
right.
Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough other people have experienced, particularly around you, and you need them to, so you have more people to talk about it with.
Okay. I think I have something. It is tangentially connected to comics.
Cool, cool.
But definitely something that I don't think a lot of people or enough people know about. It is a um this is gonna be super fun podcasting because it's one of those things that's very difficult to like describe and explain. It is a form of like comedic pseudoscience called pataphysics, PATA physics. And it was kind of named and formed by this French playwright, Alfred Jarry, um, who kind of absurdist playwright, very, very short, very tragic life, um, absolute wild man. One of those kind of characters where I'm like, I could never be a friend to this person. Their viewpoints and things are just too wild to like condone, but they are truly fascinating as just an individual. Um, but it's the best, most succinct way that I've heard of explaining pataphysics is that it is the science of imaginary solutions. Um, and so, like, one of the major tenets is that there's like equivalence in all things. So, in science, there's the exceptions to the rule. There's the things that happen so few times that it's barely worth mentioning, but they do happen. Pataphysics would say that those exceptions, because they happen, bear equal importance, equal, meaning, I guess, to the other outcomes. And so it kind of will use science to say, well, if A happens, then in this universe, B happens. And if B happens, then C happens. And C happens. And you kind of follow this thread that is absolutely absurd, but it kind of shows the work and you can kind of
Okay.
follow it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, it's wild. There's been there's a college de pataphysique in France
Well, and I'm
that
I'm 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 totally thinking that this would be a wonderful thing to make comics out of.
it is. So there's the Oulipo, which I wish I knew French to remember what it stands for, but it's a school of potential
Okay.
literature. Um,
So you need to read Matt Madden.
yes, I have. Yeah,
I brought him
he's
up
a member
earlier
of
because okay.
yeah, he's a member of the
Yeah,
Ubapo, so the comics
yeah,
version
yeah.
of the Oulipo of literature. And
Right.
there's organizations for everything. There's one for porn. Like
Okay.
there's just groups out there that try and connect this sort of thinking to film, literature, comics, music.
Right.
But yes, uh,
Yeah.
Fadden is one of
Ma-
them who
I will get to. I'm looking forward. I get to see Matt again next weekend. Um,
Excellent.
He's been on the
That's
show a couple of
exciting.
times, and I got to see him at Cake earlier this year, and I'm gonna see him
So
again
cool.
at Comics Crossroads next weekend, which I'm gonna throw this on your list, whether you're
All
going as
right.
a fan or tabling. Cartoon Crossroads in
Cartoon
Columbus
crossword. All
is a
right.
must go con, particularly for comic nerd type people.
All
Um,
right.
I mean, just to give you an idea of the the one year when I was at Comics Crossroads, you had Ohio State students that had literally stapled their comics together at one table next to Shelley and Philip Bond. So,
Yeah.
legendary Vertigo editor, legendary Vertigo artist slash 2000 AD
Wow.
artist slash across the way from Dennis Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like everything in between,
That sounds great.
right? All in a public library for free.
Excellent. Yes. Big ups
Um,
to accessibility. I love that.
well, and part of this is because it's a joint venture. It was I don't know if you know who Tom Spurgeon was.
The name sounds familiar.
He
I
was one of
may not.
the he was one of the Comics Journal early writers, maybe even one of the founders, but he split off and had his own thing.
Okay.
He and Jeff Smith of Bone fame
Mm-hmm.
started this con in conjunction with the Billy Ireland Cartoon Art and Museum
Gotcha.
at Ohio State, which is like the biggest repository of comic art in
Yeah.
the United States, in part because Milt Caniff went to Ohio State, so he gave all those papers. Bill Watterson went to Ohio State and has famously
Yep.
never sold a Calvin and
Right.
Hobbes. He's given them away, but he's never
Mm-hmm.
sold any. And the
Yep.
ones that he hasn't given away are on permanent loan until his death when they become the property of the Billy Ireland. So like he could still
Wow.
get one and give it
Yeah.
away, but like
For all intents and purposes. That's
um
cool.
so like and Jeff Smith was a student after it had become the Billy Ireland, so he knew when he
Mm-hmm.
was drawing the first page of Bone, the first official page of Bone,
Yeah.
because like he recently put out Thorn, the proto Bone, which is all of his Ohio
Oh.
State
Yeah, yeah.
Lantern news strips that had Thorn and the Bone Brothers in them. And as I pointed out, like for the Kickstarter, he also had the three mini zines from age 8, age 12, and age 16, where you get to
So
see the
cool.
Bone Brothers.
Yeah.
But when he was drawing the first page of what would become Bone number one, he knew that he was donating to Ohio State. It's on permanent display, even.
That's cool.
So every year they have this thing that it actually officially starts on Wednesday at the latest. So I think
Okay.
this year they've got a couple of things going on the previous Sunday and Tuesday. Um, and like Wednesday, Thursday, and during the day on Friday, all of the panel type things are more class type panels, and they're held
Mm-hmm.
in the building that the Billy Ireland Library is in, which is also one of the art buildings. I think most of them are
Gotcha.
held in what they call the Will Eisner room. Friday evening is when they have their keynotes at the
Mm-hmm.
Arts Center. This year it's um, Charles Burns and um, I don't know the other guy's name as well because he's actually an animator. Da, 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 da. He was behind the Little Mermaid. Um, I'm filling space while I go find his name. Special guest. There we go. Um, uh,
No, this sounds amazing. I'm looking it up right now too.
John Musker is the
John
other
Musker.
keynote on Friday. In between those two, they have their like reception that the
Hmm.
public is invited to. So like you can hobnob and have hors d'oeuvres put together by the Ohio State Culinary School and a cash bar and whatnot with
Wow.
all of the like creator type people. And they hand out a handful of their awards. And then Saturday is mostly at the library where they have three different panel rooms going on at any given time, one of which is always a kid-oriented panel room. So often,
Okay.
I mean, I remember my friend Chris Schweizer like did a panel where he taught the kids how to create their own hero, you know,
That.
that sort of thing. Both from a drawing standpoint is like, okay, and now we
Hmm.
got to give them accessories.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't even like because Schweizer loves doing like historical fiction. So
Hmm.
he didn't stop them from doing superheroes, but do you want a swashbuckler? Let's draw a sword.
Yeah. Very
Um,
cool.
and then Sunday in the morning at the art school, they have another keynote. Or not, I'm sorry, not I'm sorry, Saturday night at the art school, they have another
Mm.
keynote, often a mangaka that they bring in from
Hmm.
Japan. Sunday morning, they have a keynote at the art museum. This year, it's Ann Telness, the recently Pulitzer Prize winning political cartoonist. Gotta love it when
Yeah.
you get a Pulitzer Prize like 2 weeks after you resign in protest from the newspaper. um,
Yeah.
and again, open to the public. I mean, like Chip Zdarsky was there last year, so like
Hmm.
they get superhero people, but they don't chase them.
Right.
Um, and otherwise, like if you applied, you would probably be at the lottery level, but like they've got, I don't know exactly how it all gets split up, but I think there's
Yeah.
like 10 to 20 tables that are pure lottery. If they decide you're qualified at all, and there's a relatively low bar for your
Sure.
qualified to come table, you're in the lottery. I mean, to give you, I mean, I think Emily didn't even get it through, but Emily Mayer tabled there.
Oh,
I
awesome.
think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
she got to do it in part because she pitched a panel that because she and MS Harkness did a
Hmm.
panel together. You
So cool.
know?
She's great.
Um, but again, so like it's the only other con I've heard of that's as comic centric is
Hmm.
Heroes Con in North Carolina, which
Okay.
I want to get to too. But that tends to be more mainstream comics. It
Right.
handles everything.
Yeah.
And I want to get to it because even though it's more mainstream comics, it's mainstream comics. It's not like, oh, come meet Chris Evans. It's
Yes. Yeah.
it's
It's still about the comics.
right.
Yeah.
But this is like the nerdy Comic Con.
No, I got it on my
And
list.
the accessible to like all, I mean, you said you didn't have kids, but like this is the one that you
Yeah.
got kids, take them out,
Yeah.
because it's free. So if they don't like it, you go to the zoo. But there's also stuff that goes to them. You're at a public library, so
Right.
go spend some extra time at the kids section. Or,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just Jeff and Tom and Caitlin, and those are the ones that Tom, I just know his name. But Jeff and Caitlin are the ones that I know personally, but the other people that are involved, they've just done such a good job. This will be the 11th edition of it. Um,
Excellent.
and
Yeah,
it's
I
like
will.
the one con that I now go out of my way to travel to every year. I just
That
mark it
sounds
off on the
good.
calendar as soon as and added bonus, because Ohio State is a major college football town, but the con is never on a home weekend. There are lots of rental properties and hotel rooms
Oh, okay.
that are priced as if nobody will be in town, because as cool as this is, compared to
Yeah.
Ohio State football, it's barely a blip.
Right.
So, I mean, you've got the place that like has enough places that like they can rent accommodate
Hmm.
50,000 extra people at premium rates on some weekends, but like they're literally paying for the existence of these places in like the what, 6 weekends a year. That Ohio State football is in town, and all of
Yeah.
the extra money they make is gravy. So they're not particularly high priced. They're priced at whatever will get them actually rented. So it's actually pretty easy to like find lodging.
Yeah. Sounds like a good time.
It
I'll for sure
is.
check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got 10 days. I don't know how flexible your scheduling ability is for this year.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be this year, but I am starting to chat with some of my
And
comics
actually not
friends
10
about.
days. You've got 4 days. I was thinking
Oh
something
yeah,
else.
then
10 days.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely can't then this year, but
I
yeah,
mean,
I am
I
starting
mean,
to
you
chat
could, you,
about next year.
yeah,
So.
yeah. No, I mean, that's become my thing is I try to find a group.
Hmm.
It's like, let's rent a place together or rent
Yeah.
rooms in the same hotel or whatever. And I mean, in my dream world where I make much more money than a teacher, I would just rent out a house every year and say, who wants to come?
Yeah. That
Um,
sounds like a dream. I love that.
because it is,
Cool.
it's a fun weekend. And there you go, CXC. I plugged you again. For Ross Dugger, who can be found as at Doodlehoff online, primarily Instagram, but when I put it in, I saw a couple other places, I think, but
Yep.
maybe
Blue.
those were other ones.
Pretty much
Uh,
Instagram and Blue Sky right now.
okay,
But
okay. That's right, because I initially put in at Doodlehoof and I found somebody else, and then I realized I had two O's rather than two F's. Um,
gotta find this doodle hoof.
yeah, the crazy thing is it was also Ninja Penguin. No, so it was.
No, all their stuff is cow based. It's all cow based doodle hoof.
So for Ross Duggar, this has been 22 panels. We will see you after the next page.